So I'm very excited for all the participants. Hey, Karen, how are you?
Hi, Yoad. I'm great. How are you?
So, God, we have the permission to start the webinar. We live we live on YouTube, and thank you all the attendees that come to see us and see the webinar today. We're very excited about that. We're gonna deep dive a little bit about what did you need to know about building a product support organization, a little bit about us and me. So my name is Oad. I'm the co-founder and CEO here at Record, a product of Tuto, and we aim to build products that provide clarity and drive efficiency when it comes to communicating and understanding the end users. We have companies like Lumingo, Groover, Dataloop, Yellow AI, PayPal, Springboard, and much more. And today I'm so happy to join us to this stream, Karen Sela, the head support of Guardio. She began their relationship with product support 6 years ago at Wix after working every level of the support organization over there. And she recently, 1 year ago, started at Guardio and lead the support team. And she will talk a little bit about that later. Karen believes that Guardio is unique because the support there goes beyond solving technical problem. It integrates data and the voice of their users to provide best protection and user insights back into the product. And I am sure that Karen can explain about that better than me. But I'm thrilled to learn a little bit more about how we can take product in the center and be able to provide all the thing that happened in the longest circle, like support and stuff like that. So Karen, thank you for being here and taking part. I now share my screen and it's all yours.
So first of all, thank you, Rad. I'm really excited. I'm super happy also to be in this platform and to speak about something that I really like to do, and it's support and the relationship between support and product in general. I think it's something that sometimes we don't really we don't see like this iceberg, if I can speak like that, because we think that support is like to be empathetic with user, to provide solution, to be nice to user, and sometimes just like to give them what they actually want, or of course to resolve issue. But what we kind of like forget, but we really try to do now in the industry, it's to look back all of that to the product team, but also to actually use everything that our users are saying and requesting to help the business grow and to provide a better experience, but not only for our user, but also for the people within the company. So I actually prepared a small presentation, so with just like bullet point, and it's very maybe a bit generic, but I think that I can share a bit my my experience that I had at Wix, and also how we can adapt that to a startup, because Guardio is a startup, but we're very with this flow and process, and we are very like user centric at the end. So I will be happy to share this presentation, and of course, if you have questions, feel free to ask. Feel free to like to jump in, and I will try to like to give also like experience and clear experience from my personal experience. So we'll share my screen. So can you see my screen? Is it clear enough?
Yeah, clear.
Okay, perfect. So just to start, what is product support? So of course, it's the way that our customer interact with the product or the service, but also how we are interacting with our user, how we understand them, what are the sentiments of the product, which kind of question they are asking, but not only which kind of question, but what it's behind what they're asking. Something that I really like to say to my team or to think when I'm, like researching ticket or evaluating ticket is to anticipate what's behind their question. So we'll give you just like an example. So for example, if a user is asking how to add a text, something that was very, like in Wix, we used to have this question a lot. How can I add this text in this certain page? So the answer is not only about how to add the text, but also like what you can do with this text, where you can put this text, why it's important to use this text. I know it's very, very simple and generic question, but when you understand that, you understand what actually the user wants to do, and then you can, see the product in all its core, and not only just about the small question that the user asks. And then you have the second part, which is, of course, to reduce top issues that I will speak about after, and push for a better experience, both for the user, but also, again, for the employee, because there's a very deep connection between employees and users, especially in terms of support and product support. We know that sometimes it can be an overwhelmed job with always, like the issue, and the fact that we're able to reduce issues and to bring at the end what our user or customer are requesting. So this is where we get the satisfaction. So again, the pros, when you do product support, not only like the customer support, of course, they're connected, and I believe that every company do that a bit differently, but at the end you need to kind of have like kind of best practice. I'm not saying that this is like the the best practice for everyone, but this is what I like to believe. So in general, it helps you really understand your product and the business. It helps you to define the touch point. It's not only about how you register to your product, but also like what you think about the product when you register, what's your sentiment when you register to the product, and then you anticipate the kind of issue that user can have, but also like the kind of feature request that they can have, and then you will adapt everything from your answer to the training to your team. Then, of course, how you report to product and to R&D. There's always a kind of battle between support team and R&D or product with, oh, how many tickets do you have? How many users? But it's only one request. So you need to know how to report that to create this impact. And I will speak about that a bit later. Then, of course, you need to train your team and also your user about a specific feature, a specific scenario, or even something new with the product. And at the end, it gives you a sentiment of ownership. First, regarding your team, because when a support team, a product support team feels involved, in analyzing ticket or calls or chat, bringing feature requests to product, they really feel that they're part of something. And then it creates, again, this loop of like positive experience. But also when you do the other way around, when you are contacting user who actually, like open the ticket to support, and then you're like, okay, we want to reach out to you because we want to get more information about why do you need this feature? And I will give maybe like true examples of my personal experience regarding that after, but it also really like create a connection with the user for the product, which at the end, like increase the retention and the loyalty towards the company. What maybe you have, if you have questions or things, so feel free to jump in.
For me, if you can like a little bit clarify the relationship, like thing that you say here, like train your team and users, sometimes is something that the support team will do, sometimes is the product team will do. And I know that most of the time the support organization is not necessarily under like product,
usually it's not under product. Yeah, usually it's not.
And I don't see a lot of like good relationship in companies between support, success, and product teams sometimes. And I think that there is a lot of insights in the support organization that can drive the product much more higher in performance, retention, and even activation phases. So how you fix it, or what the processes that you created in your company in order to fix that?
Okay, so I think first of all, it's a very good question, and I know that it's something that that we speak a lot in this context. And I will give you 2 examples, of course, from what I know. So first of all, at Wix, at first we had like very complicated relationship with product. It was through different entity. customer care, product. Sometimes, you know, like we were bringing like issues and they were like, okay, but we know that the user that we're speaking with, they don't think the same, and it was kind of a battle. And then we understood that it was at the end like the same, that we had the same goal and that we should work together. So what we actually did is that whenever they were thinking about, you know, like deploying a feature or thinking from the first, even not deploying a feature, but from like the research, they were like, you know, like, first of all, they were asking for us to gather all the requests and the tickets that we had. Then we were sitting together and we were trying to understand, you know, how we can first resolve that in terms of communication, or is it something that they could like fix in terms of like product or even, you know, with R&D. And then we really understand that there was like a really like good like connection between what we used to Broadem, if it was like, you know, like based on their request, kind of issues, terminology that some user used, even like user talk that we did with them, with user. And then once they were starting to, you know, like to test the product, so as a support team, we were really like doing like kind of QA, and we were planning like the attachment that user could have, because we knew the kind of issue and the potential, especially the potential issues that that our user could have with the product and the interaction. And once everything was like, you know, like before a feature was open, so we had meeting, sometimes we had POC, we had the meeting where we were like really like going over all the flow, the new product, the kind of question that we could have. We had the board with all the relevant important information, and we were creating guide together, meaning that every article that we used to write was always like with the product and the support team. And then we did like a kind of like a very like deep monitoring for every ticket that we received or every call. We were looping that back to the product team. So actually we created like a very, very clear and good connection. So I can even like give you kind of a small example. At Wix, I used to work for the French team, and it's something that I will just elaborate, because there's also something with product support, especially when you work in like a big company like Wix, where you need to like localize all your product. You also have like the side of the market product support. And sometimes you have a feature that you need to localize that, or you need to find a way. So we had that, for example, with like domain, you know, like you have domain.com, domain.il, and we needed like something with domain.fr. And we were really like, you know, like we were sending them all the ticket about the request. And we were speaking with user, and we were sending that again. And then once they opened the feature to buy and purchase like domain.fr, so we were the first line regarding every aspect of the issues. So it was mostly a connection, and we really know how to work together. When I joined Guardio, so they already have, of course, like, you know, like we build like the support and product and everything, but they already have the understanding that it was very important to have this connection and not to come into like a kind of like battles. So from the start, we work together. Every new feature that we have, we are always sitting together with product, understanding what are the potential issues, the flow, what we should say to the user in terms of value, but also in terms of how to use the product. And of course, we are tagging everything, labeling, tagging, creating the materials. So then if there's something that we need to report, it can be like immediate. So we have, of course, you know, like Slack channel, and we're doing report and newsletters. So at every moment, every knows what's going on.
So the recommendation is that one from the support team need to be part of the kickoff or the process of creating.
Sorry that I'm cutting you, but yeah, like always, from like A to Z, I think that it's always important that someone from the support team will be present, because at every point, you know actually what your user are doing with the product.
And you provide like the data, and you take the responsibility of this feature and do what you need to do in order to support the support process, right?
Yeah, like of course you bring the data that you have, which is mostly qualitative, because at the end, you know, like it's not, you have maybe 2, 3, 5 users that will complain about something, but it's more qualitative, because then you can also like have talk with them. But yes, you provide the data, but also as support entity, you are always involved in interaction with the product. So you will also like do the connection with like other feature within the product and see how they interact. So it's very important that you will be present, and not like as two different entities, because there's something very the worst thing I think for product and support is to be totally disconnected and just and then you're just like surprising your support agent, and you're surprising the product team, and you're surprising R&D, and at the end, surprise for a company, it's not what we want to have.
Yeah, it's low efficient. And the last question before we go on, you said a lot of things that are proactive in the approach, right? We don't wait for the user come to us with a problem. And when you have a problem, we don't like give him the specific solution, but we try to make it broad solution that also provide more value from what he began to ask at the beginning, right?
Exactly.
And you think it's a mindset, or how you can really do that, how you can be proactive in a system that most of the time I think reactive?
So first of all, of course, it's a mindset, but I think it's at the end connected to the sentiment of ownership, because when you give this ownership, and when you're, you know, when you have a team and you're telling them, okay, but at the end you are the front line to user, and you know what they feel, what they think, how they use the product. So it's not only about support resolution, this connection, this ownership. So it's automatically you're more proactive, because you feel more connected to the product, to the company, but also to your user.
And the KPI is different KPI, like you measure like the reduced of number of ticket, or you like how you drive the team to be like with this ownership. It's something that everybody talk about, or this is something that we also try to measure?
So no, we try to measure, and I think it's really different. I will speak about that later, but it's very different depend on what is your goal, because you will have some specific thing that you will want to see an increase, for example, in tickets. For example, if you take feature request, okay, feature request, you will measure the vote of the feature request. So the less vote you have, the lower the feature will be out. But for example, if you have a specific issues, like a top issue, you will want to see, you know, like a reduction in the issues. And this is kind of also like, of course, like your KPI.
Cool, thank you.
Cool. So it's good that we spoke about that, because what actually, you know, I want to think about product support, about like the how and why. And the way that I'm kind of like dividing that, it's of course we have like the top issues. So when we look at issues, what we actually do we have a major increase, or sometimes we have a major decrease? Is this an high effort for the user, but also for the agents? I will give you an example. Verifying if, you know, if user are getting emails. Okay, very, you know, sometimes it's very, very easy, but maybe in your company, the way to do that requires a lot of effort. So even if you don't have a lot of tickets regarding that or calls, if it takes a lot of effort for your team, so it's also something that you need to take care of in terms of product support. So also like in terms of effort, and of course, new issue, new feature requests, everything that as a new trend, if you notice a trend in something. So this is what the thing that you need to focus on. In case that you're doing localization at Gardner, we don't, but if you're like in a company like Wix, and you have like a localization, so you need also to focus on market issues, because it's also part of product support. But also low usability of certain feature. You can look at your data and you say, okay, I have this feature, but I don't see ticket at all. I don't see ticket, I don't see call. And then you will go maybe to the article and you will see that you have views. So for example, if you have a lot of views to a certain article, the views, it's like in all the Help Center, the number of impressions for a certain article. So no ticket and a lot of views. So you know that maybe your user are actually like interacting with this product, that maybe the guide and the instruction are enough, but they don't, they don't have any issues. So you also need to check, low usability, specific behavior, and this comes exactly to the relationship with product. For example, product can come to the support team with a question: do we have a user who are who are using the chat in this way? For example, we used to have that a lot. They use the chat for payment mostly. They use the chat for sending, I don't know, like a certain type of question. And they want to have the insight from the support point of view, because they also have their data, but they want to see like the type of questions. So then you will also look at what the support are asking. Not only you will provide, and then it creates like really like this circle of 260. And of course, all the suggestion and the feedback that we get from user, that is something that we need to concentrate. And then we decide, and this is something that it's really like, it depends on the culture of the company. So you can decide that every month with the product team, you will share the suggestion and feedback from your user. Or you can decide that it's every 2 months or every 3 months or every 2 weeks. It really depends on the side of the company, the product, and what you decide. But it's very important that you will do that on an ongoing basis.
There is any relationship between you and customer success or sale? Like, you are in the front of the user, right? And this is why they give you suggestion and maybe feature requests. I think, but it's also very interesting for the sales team in order to understand that here we have opportunity maybe to do an app sale or something like that. It's something that you consider.
So at Gartner, we don't have sales team. And when I was at Wix, we just started to have like the customer success and sales. And of course, and also from what I know, but of course, like you need to have like this connection. I think that at the end, product, customer success, sales, customer support, they do all, like we all do a different aspect of the job. But when we see the user, we need to really like collaborate. And of course, like customer success, if a user is asking about a specific issue, so they need to know that. And they can just like send all the time to support and the other way around. So of course they need to know that. And this is the work of the support and product support team to share this information with customer success. And at the end, everything needs to go back to product, because product team need to know what users are thinking.
And from your experience, like you talked previously about your experience at Wix and the localization aspect of like tickets, you saw like differences between the geographics or the market by the tickets, or you can say this is a product problem and this is the market problem?
Yeah, totally. Especially when you work with the European market, where like you have so many things regarding even like legal, and all the legal aspect is really, really interesting also, because actually it's very interesting, the legal aspect. With legal, when it comes to legal, you can have just one request, but the product team will need to like focus on that. So especially when you're working like with localization, you can have like a product that will, it's expected and it works amazing for a certain market, and it has so many feature requests for another market. And this is actually really like interesting part of like product support for markets, for specific markets.
Interesting.
And but the practice at the end, like the let's say like the recipe, if I can give a recipe, it's the same. The process is the same. It's just that you adapt that for like a market.
Cool.
Thank you. So the recipe for me, again, always how you build your research when you want to analyze call tickets, the way user, customer are interacting with your product. And now you want actually to concentrate your information and to bring that to the product team. Because remember what I said at the start, there's nothing worse to just like bring one ticket and say, hey, we have an issue or we have a problem. So always start with a question, why and how. Where there's so many links, so tag, link tag for the people who don't know. So whenever like you have a call or a ticket, it's important to have tags so you know the specific issue. Why do users find this confusing? Or why this issue suddenly increase or decrease? You open a feature and you want to see how users are responding to a change, and how do people, of course, use this feature. So always start with a question. And then make sure that you know everything that you can know about the product, but also not only within your company, but like with your competitor, and also how all the workaround and resolution and all the article and the macro, because sometimes, especially, and this is mostly regarding support team, sometimes we don't have all the knowledge, and our answer will not be we don't have all the knowledge, and this is maybe why sometimes users are interacting in a certain way with the product. So it's also like something that we need to kind of like focus on. So once you have all the relevant information and all the knowledge, what I like to do, and again, this is like my vision, I like to categorize my pain point by usability. Usability, it's an expected behavior of the product, but our customer user are not really like understanding how to use this, or they kind of like get confused. Easy to discoverability issue, meaning that they will come and they will ask if we are providing, for example, do you provide this feature on mobile? And we know that we are providing that. We have all the relevant information, but they don't know that. So it's something that they don't find. Is it a feature request or is it a bug? And then once you categorize everything, you know how to bring that to the product, and also on what you need and what can be also like your suggestion and solution. So for example, when it comes to discoverability, usually we'll go to the knowledge base or to the help center, help desk, whatever, and you will try to make it more clear. You will also maybe speak with marketing. Hey, look, we have a lot of tickets or calls about a certain, like they're asking about a certain feature, so it means that they're not aware of that. And of course, the way that that as a support team we are explaining that, we will try to make it more approachable. So this is the way that I'm doing. I like to categorize, because then it really helps me to create my report or to my plan. And also we know, to which stakeholder, if we can call it like that, bring that. So for example, usually bug. So it can be product, but it can also be like the R&D, and the rest usually with product or marketing.
So every ticket gets a tag based on these 4 groups, right?
Yeah, every ticket actually get tags based on specific issue, and then yes, exactly. At the end, yes, exactly.
And how are you investigating everything? Like you said, like usability, somebody asked a question about if I can do something on the product, and the answer is yes, but they don't know that. So how you investigate if this user is like not try to discover or not search anything, or what we can do in order to solve that. So what you're looking the data and what you do with that.
So of course you have like the number, you see the number of links, and then it depends based on like on the tools that you have in your company. So based on the links that you have, the number of tag, but then you can also like, like you dig a certain amount of ticket or calls, and you really like listen to what they're saying. And then this is like why it's important to have the knowledge from before, what I said, the slide before, because then you can understand where there were the friction. Because at the end, what you want to do is you want to reduce the friction with the product. So it's a combination of the tag, the links that you have, the number of ticket, of course, number of tag, the view, the impression, and then the qualitative, where you are, of course, like really reading the ticket or listening to the calls. Sometimes you can even do follow-up with users to try to understand more, and then you combine that with the data that you have from the product. Okay. But yeah, it's like a very like it's sometimes it takes time, but at the end it works that, because when you see that you reduce a specific issue that you have opening the feature, so that was a feature request, it's a real satisfaction, and from both sides.
Cool.
And then of course at the end you need always to communicate your findings. So of course it's better when you come with like, okay, look, we check 50 tickets or 50 calls. This is a usability issue, meaning that they know that this feature exists, but they're using this feature in this way. It creates different impacts. But also it's very important to see, based on what users are asking, if you're providing also, the relevant documentation, because sometimes it's not something that even product or R&D need to change. Sometimes it's just a small wording in the support documentation or in the training, because we can be trained in a certain way, and maybe we are missing some scenario, like some scenario where, so this is also something that, and at the end, not at the end, but like it bring also like, you bring all of that, all your finding to also your team, not only to product or R&D, but also all your finding to your teams. Again, for this ownership and that to understand and how to interact with the product more.
So what is the big like insights that you had from your 6 years and Wix and Guardio today? If there is something common for everything,
Communication. I know it sounds like very generic, but communication and the connection between product and support. I can say you that once product and support are disconnected, so the support team can be very impacted by that, because we don't know sometimes how to answer or what are the workaround, and we will not bring the relevant information. And I'm very happy to see that both, at Wix and at Guardio, it's exactly the opposite. And if I can also, like give like a small advice, is that at the end, like everyone like work for the same thing, and you want the good of like, like your company. So it's not a battle that we should have, and really like to create this connection between the teams. And then, of course, every company has its culture, and you can define like a process. So, for example, you can decide that you will have a meeting bi-weekly, and during this bi-weekly, we'll go over ticket or call, so you can, send report. I know some
it's mainly meetings and Slack connection. And
yeah. Like I know a friend who used to have a product meeting with support, but they used to call that lamentation wall. Just like. Depend what you want to what's the culture of your company and what you want to do, but you need to have communication.
Cool.
Yeah. If you have other question or
we have some question. We finished with the presentation?
Yeah.
Cool. So somebody asked here how our product record is resonate with what you're talking about. And I think that, like you said about communication, our tool provides the end user. Our goal is to look on the customer experience, and to create the best customer experience for the end user to tell his problems to the company. So he can create his own problem, like visualize it and set it something that is much more, that much more easy to understand as human beings. And then you can share what he just send to the product team or the R&D and to do whatever you want with that. So, and everything is from the product itself. Like we don't want him to download anything else. So it's connect all the dots, right? From like be able to communicate internally in order to create something that is visual and very easy to understand from the end user perspective. And we plan to release, I hope very soon, like the other way, like how we can explain better to the end user what he can do. And then we also like create a big database of like how to do things and solve these usability problems or any other issue related with this thing. Anonymous attendee, can you explain the advantage of customer sharing his problem with me directly rather than writing? So you want to answer about that, maybe about the different communication with the end user, and what you find more, I don't know, like more convenience and what the user can do in order to better communicate, or how, like as a customer support agent, how can I communicate better with agents? I just will say that when we talk with different companies, we know that there is companies that they have chatbot on their like product. Some support teams don't like it, and they have a form that the user need to fill, and then the ticket is open, like, and then there is conversation, and you can't like call them or send an email. So it's very, very different. What's your take off about that?
We don't have a chatbot, but I think it's really like, it's not that one is good or better than the other. It just depends on what are like your audience and what do you want to achieve. And it really depends. But at the end, both, I think the chatbot and the contact form should guide the user to provide as much as more information as possible. And we need to be reactive and also proactive as on the other side of the support. So I think that the best thing for a support agent is to get as much as information as possible from customer and user. And on the other side, they need from us reactivity. So chatbot, contact form, at the end, it's the same, not really the same, but like at the end, if you have the combination of reactivity and the information, you're good.
And also, like, you need the data in order to investigate. And if you have it, like in the beginning, it will be very easy to understand where the problem is, tag it correctly, and then to provide the best answer that you can.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I don't have any further questions. I think that it was extremely interesting. And if I need to summarize everything, and I think it's really go like communicate, sort or tag everything like correctly, learn from that, and provide like a bigger picture, like not necessarily the answer for the exact pain point, but give them a whole solution that provide and maybe will answer more pain points and will open more of the product possibilities and values. And then the customer will feel that somebody not just answer his question or solve his issue, but also provide another value on top of that. And when we talk about support, I think that sometimes users come very frustrating because they have problem, they don't know how to do something, that so they're very like pissed off. And when they get this kind of approach and mindset from the company, they say, wow, I want to stick here. I think it's one of the company modes that the company can create as part of the culture, like provide more value in any department, right? It can be the marketing, it can be the customer success, it can be the sales, but it also can be the customer support. And I think it's extremely valuable lesson that everybody can learn from you today.
Yeah, at the end, you know, like customer support, product support, whatever you want to call it, it's an added value for a company. And we know that your product can be amazing, but just one interaction, a bad interaction with your support team, and you can go. So
yeah, and also there is a lot of like papers and researchers that show exactly that. The product can be amazing, but service sometimes is, or most of the times, even greater than the product itself. And you need all the ecosystem to provide like the value for the customers. And it's not just about the product, but it's about like the company and how the systems is around the product and how the customer feel when he's interact with the product, but also with other department in the company.
Exactly.
So thank you for the time you're devoting for this webinar.
It was great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.